It took me exactly 24 months to go from paycheck to paycheck to $20,000 a month of income from Airbnb. And if I knew what I knew now back in 2020 when I started, I would have gotten there a lot faster. This video is going to be an updated guide for how to step-by-step make money on Airbnb in 2025. I'm going to show you the strategy that I used that required literally $0 upfront investment and enabled me to quit my job in a year. I'm going to show you how to find homeowners who will let you rent out their house for them and will spend all the money to fund the property setup and acquisition, meaning no money out of pocket for you. I'm going to show you how you convince those homeowners to do this and then sign them into your portfolio. And I will show you how to automate this business and operation so that you're not trading your time for dollars and can focus on growing the business and enjoying your life. So pay attention because this video can legit change everything for you. My goal for this video is to take you through the journey that I went on to get where I am now, but to do it even faster. And I also want to show you how you can do it from anywhere in the world. You heard that right. I've worked with students in one country who manages properties thousands of miles away in another country. With phone service and internet, you can legit do it from anywhere. So I'm going to start with not step 1, but rather step 0. You need to indoctrinate your mind with so much information and literally speak the language of short-term rentals in your sleep. You're gonna be the best in the game before you have even started. And I'll be honest, there is so much fluff out there about Airbnbs and short-term rentals. You wanna listen to the folk who are actually doing it and not those selling BS pipe dreams. There's definitely some giveaways if they are flexing their lifestyle all the time. That's probably a good one. Guys like Patrick Switek, John Bianchi, the Carwells are examples of my friends who are real ones that I have personally learned from. The Short-Term Rental Pros podcast was made so you could literally become a pro as quickly as possible. It's also my podcast, and not to promote myself, but I don't know of many who are getting their students results like I am and teaching Airbnb and short-term rentals the way I teach it. One of the mistakes I made early on was trying to learn too many things at once and getting shiny object syndrome, which distracted me from more quickly accomplishing my Airbnb goal. So you shouldn't be doing this research for more than a couple weeks or a month. And then that's going to bring me into chapter 1. What is co-hosting and how do you make money? Co-hosting is when you manage somebody else's short-term rental property and handle everything from guest communication to cleaning coordination, pricing, and overall guest experience. Think of it as being the Airbnb manager for property owners who don't have the time or expertise to run the listings themselves. Instead of charging a flat fee, most co-hosts take a percentage of the booking revenue, typically 15 to 35% of gross earnings. What is the beauty of co-hosting? Well, for one, you don't need to get a down payment and buy a property. You don't need to take out a mortgage. You don't need to sign a lease, pay first month's rent, security deposit. You just need to find property owners who want to maximize their Airbnb income. How much money can you make? Well, let's break it down. Say you co-host just 5 properties and each one makes $10,000 per month in booking revenue. This is $120,000 a year for that property. So this first house, $10,000 of revenue. As co-host, you get 20% of the revenue as your fee. So $2,000 for that property. Now let's stack it a second time. Property number 2 also makes $10,000 a month or $120,000 a year. That is $2,000 more a month for you, or another $24,000 a year. Same things for properties 3, 4, and 5. Now you have 5 properties that together make $50,000 a month. Your fee on that is $10,000 a month, and you are now a 6-figure business owner because your gross commissions are $120,000 a year. If you're wondering whether there's enough opportunity in Airbnb co-hosting to get those 5 properties, well, let's look at the numbers. As of 2024, Airbnb has over 8 million active listings across more than 220 countries and regions. There are more than 5 million hosts who manage these listings, and around 28% of the listings are managed by professional co-hosts or property managers. These listings generate 36% of the total revenue on the platform. So that is billions and billions of dollars of bookings and gross commissions out there for grabs for co-hosts, property managers like yourself. Now that you know how co-hosting works and how much money you can make, let's talk about the most important part: finding homeowners who will let you manage their Airbnb. And here's the good news. There are millions of homeowners out there who already rent their properties with a property manager. They are literally already paying someone else to do this. These are what I consider as the low-hanging fruit that will make it easy for you to start your co-hosting business. Why are they such low-hanging fruit? Because the big guys simply do not care about them. Vacasa and Evolve both manage almost 100,000 listings combined. Frankly, here is why these big property managers are bad for homeowners. First of all, terrible customer service. Homeowners are just a number in a massive system for them. Getting support is slow, frustrating, and impersonal. They have no dedicated point of contact. Imagine owning a $500,000 vacation home and having to sit on hold to get answers about your property. Number two, oftentimes they have poor pricing and revenue management. Big managers use basic dynamic pricing tools, focusing on occupancy instead of profitability. They don't do any real-time market adjustments. They just let the automated software set the price. Oftentimes, a good co-host can make a property 20 to 50% more just by optimizing the pricing the right way. Oftentimes, these big property managers have high fees and low payouts for their owners. For instance, Vacasa is known to charge 25 to 50% of the revenue. After the cleaning fees and service charges, these homeowners can make far less than expected. Evolve typically charges 10%, which is less, but they don't actually manage the property. The owners still have to coordinate the cleaning and maintenance. So oftentimes owners sign up thinking they'll make easy money, but once they see the fees and poor performance, they realize they're getting ripped off. They have no focus on the reviews or guest experience. So the guests get slow responses, generic service, and they leave bad reviews. These low ratings lead to less future revenue for the homeowner. You, as a co-host, can actually care about the property and make sure the guests have a great experience, driving repeat bookings, more money for your homeowner partner, and then more money for yourself as the co-host. Don't just take my word for it. Thomas quit his job as a park ranger and went full-time with short-term rentals, getting to 15 properties within several months of getting his first client.
I started my company at 21 while I was still in college. Started offering co-hosting, got my first 2 clients in 2 months with co-hosting. And I added 12 in a month. I'm having fun.
Ryan, who has a tech sales background, is now full-time with his co-hosting business and has scaled to over a dozen properties in several months. Both have already hit or nearly hit 6-figure revenue months and tens of thousands in gross commissions. I'm working with them in order to get their business from level 1, where they quit their jobs, to level 2. I'm gonna be more on that and what that means in another video, so make sure to subscribe for that. So how did they actually get in front of homeowners? Simple. They reached out. They and yourself can find the properties on Airbnb and other property manager direct booking sites. You can use sites like PropWire, True People Search to get the homeowner information and reach out. And then once you've gotten in contact with the homeowner, you want to make sure to use our 3-step closing framework. So what is this 3-step framework? Well, first of all, it includes getting them on a discovery call and just hearing what their pain points are and why they have issues with their current management. Second, you're gonna wanna hop on a Zoom call where you show them your expertise and offer yourself as a solution to their problems. I'd recommend demonstrating softwares like BNBCalc that has branded co-host reports where you can walk them through how the money works and how you can optimize their performance and things you can do to the property, to the photos, to the marketing, to improve the performance and how it will then stack up versus competition. So here is a property on popular Airbnb neighborhood in Pennsylvania. I just want to kind of show you an example. If I was pitching this owner on managing their property, which honestly, if this was like a furnished property already, that would be, I talked about low-hanging fruit earlier. That oftentimes is very low-hanging fruit. The property's already furnished. Maybe the owner isn't 100% sure on wanting to sell it. They just listed it and they're open to other options. So, but what I would do once I was talking to them and they, they're always going to ask the question is, how could my property do as a rental? That's very common. And kind of how does this work? So what I did is I just pasted in that Zillow link. The address popped up, came up with the bedrooms, bathrooms, an estimate for the guest count. So I'm going to run the report, click calculate. So right here you see the revenue breakdown and then the seasonality. This is helpful to communicate with an owner because they might think, oh, is it going to make the same amount every month? No, that's just not how it works. Seasonality is a big part of short-term rentals. Makes sense. In August, the summer, the property's doing its best. That's the high season in this market. And then Christmas is pretty solid. And then this is actually a ski market. So January and February are okay. So the low season is March, after ski season, as well as the fall when kids go back to school. BNBCalc report also shows them comparables. We're going to get comparable properties so we can show them, hey, let's try to see where yours stacks up compared to the others. The ones with pools might be doing better. This is a neighborhood with a pool, so that's why they say they all have pools. But you get the idea. Hot tubs, generally the ones with hot tubs are doing better than the ones without hot tubs. You can see the bottom 4 don't have hot tubs. So you get the idea. You can look through these, give them an idea, see which ones are doing really well, tell them things they can do to do, as well, and how you'll help them do as well as like the better performing properties. So that's the revenue aspect, and then communicate how, the revenue the cleaning gets deducted from it, your co-host commission. So if it's 20%, which is like pretty standard, it'd be $1,000 a month. So I'm confident that I can actually get this up to be probably one of the top performers in this area. So in that case, I can confidently say probably have about 60% occupancy, $400 a night. That pushes it to about 90 grand. I think honestly could probably do better looking at this property and knowing the market, but we're going to keep it there. The revenue minus the cleaning, which generally estimate as a percent of revenue, 5 cleanings a month at $200, that's $1,000 a month. It's helpful for owners to see it that way. Then what is your commission? So if it's 20%, that's $1,500 a month. Then after that is the owner payout. You want them to get an idea, hey, I think you're going to need to put money into it. This property's unfurnished. What we can do is we can estimate cost of furnishing 2,400 square feet. I like to do this method, but the reason why we have more methods like bedrooms, bathrooms, because other people like to do it that way. But I like to say is like, all right, we're gonna go moderate, 2,400 square feet, that's gonna be $29,000. And then also if we have to do renovations, repairs, that's something, depending on what it is, the homeowner probably is responsible for coordinating and dealing with a lot of that, but maybe it's just like a hot tub. If so, that's probably another $7,000 depending on electrical. That right there, this report really shows the homeowner, what you're talking about, and it gives them an idea of like how it actually works and how, ultimately the numbers work, which is super important ultimately to make sure that you guys are on the same page. Step 3, you can now hop on a call to discuss how it actually works and then walk them through the co-host agreement, which details expectations and how you get paid. So you're gonna wanna make sure that you have a thorough co-host agreement because this is such an important document. So now that you've signed them, here are the steps after signing a co-host agreement. First, you're gonna wanna get the listing ready. Schedule professional photos, great visuals equals more bookings. You're gonna wanna write a high converting listing description with a compelling title. You're gonna wanna optimize the amenities and features to highlight what makes the property stand out. Second, you're gonna wanna set up the pricing and revenue management. You're gonna connect to software such as Price Labs and Wheelhouse for dynamic pricing. You're gonna wanna set the base pricing based off market research. You're gonna wanna adjust the rates for seasonality, local events, demand trends. You wanna create a minimum stay strategy to maximize revenue. Example, you don't want people sabotaging your weekends in the summer with 2-night bookings, so you might wanna have 3 to 5 night minimum stays for the weekends on peak seasons. You're gonna onboard the property to your property management software. You're gonna choose a property management software like Guesty, Hospitable, Hostaway, where you're gonna integrate your channels such as Airbnb, Vrbo, and build your direct booking platform. You're gonna wanna set up automated messaging for the guest communication. And you're gonna connect your cleaners to the calendar so they know when they need to go in there and take care of the property. This brings me into the next step, building your local team. So we've connected your reliable cleaners to the calendar. Your cleaners are gonna be your most important team members, but you're also gonna want a list of electricians, plumbers, handyman from Thumbtack and Google, and you're gonna have a whole Rolodex for when the time comes. This right here can now enable you to automate over 90% of your Airbnb business. And once you hit a certain scale, you can actually hire virtual assistants for around $1,000 a month. That's gonna get it to 99% automated, as they're gonna be the ones coordinating with your team members and cleaners for you. So my portfolio of owned and managed property should do about $1.5 million in revenue this year. And I have 3 virtual assistants that do the day-to-day operations. They communicate with my guests, my cleaners, they call and talk to my maintenance team members. They also even do my bookkeeping, owner reports, and even help edit our photos and do other marketing. They can even help you with building a list of potential properties to manage and even be the ones who reach out and get in contact with the homeowners in the first place. So now you have all the information you need on my channel and also through the Short-Term Rental Pros podcast to do this yourself. But if you want to work directly with me and be a part of my awesome group who's on the come up together, click the link in the description and sign up for a call. And guys, I'm going to be posting more. I really want to come up with as much helpful information for you to succeed. So make sure to subscribe my page for next time and check out my other videos.